Please remember that the complete information for the class that you are about to view is at elithecomputerguy.com. Not only do we have our videos there, but we have part lists, diagrams, pictures, and even complete code examples. So if you are watching this video and you want more information, please go to elithecomputerguy.com. Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy, and in today's class we're going to be talking about nth-of-type with CSS. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be automatically formatting HTML documents using a tool called nth-of-type. So this can be very valuable, and basically what this allows you to do is it allows you to format text, again, based off of certain rules. So one of the big issues when you're creating large HTML documents is when people are trying to read the HTML document, you can have a lot of information spread over a large area, and it can be very difficult for your users or for your visitors to be able to basically understand and contextualize the information. So one of the things you can do with formatting your HTML document is basically be able to format text similarly, so it's easier for your users, your visitors, to be able to discern. So think about this in the IoT world. So a lot of what I'm teaching you is from that whole IoT perspective. Internet of Things. So you're going to be having a lot of sensors, you're going to be having a lot of devices sending information to your server. You're then going to parse that information and then be able to print out reports. Well, one of the big issues is you print out reports, and again, with basic HTML, you can print out the reports. They can be ugly and complicated and impossible to read, but theoretically all the information is there. You say, my job is done. All the information is there. My job is done. And then you have the end users looking at just blobs of information saying, how the hell do I use this? Well, one of the interesting things you can do with nth-of-type is basically, again, you can automatically format text based off of certain rules so that it is much easier for the viewer to be able to discern what information goes with what. You can think about this with things such as tables. So if you have tables, or one of the examples I'll show you is a list. So imagine if every row in a list, the entire row was a different color. So one of the examples that I'm going to show you is one row is going to be blue, and then the next row is going to be pink, and the next row is going to be blue, the next row is going to be pink. And so you have a list, or possibly if you have a table, it's very easy to then be able to see all of the information that goes together. So you can do this with tables and lists. You can do this with basic tags, so basic P and H2 or H tags. You can do this with divs. So basically if you have divs, and let's say you have different sections in your HTML document. So maybe for chapters or for posts, you make the first one have a background of white, and then the next one have a background of gray, and then the next one have a background of white, and the next one have a background of gray. So when I'm scrolling through the document, I can very easily see, okay, this is one post, and that's the next post, and this is a post, okay, this is the post that I want, right? And so basically this nth-of-type allows you to automatically format your text based off of some different rules. So with that, let's go over to the computer. I can show you how this works. Again, it's one of those very simple things that you're just going to simply need to play with once I show you, but this can be very useful, again, especially when you're going to be doing things such as printing out HTML reports. Here we are back at my MacBook Pro that I use for the demonstration machine. Today I use text edit in order to type out all the code. Again, for these basic coding projects, I like using an ASCII text editor. If you're in the Windows world, you can use Notepad. If you're in the Mac world, you can use text edit. If you're in the Linux world, you can use gedit, nano, vim, or whatever. Basically, you just need a simple text editor. What you're going to have two files at the end of this today. One I've called nth.html. So basically, this is the document that opens up in the web browser. So that needs to have a .htm or .html suffix, and then the CSS style sheet is nth-style.css, and so that simply needs to be named .css. I'm going to show you the end result first, and then we're going to actually go take a look at the CSS, just so you can get an idea of what the end result is supposed to look like before we actually take a look at the code. And so here we have three different examples. So using this nth-of-type, here what I've done is we can see that the even rows here are basically italicized and they have a background of yellow. So imagine if you had a number of different basically tags of some sort. They might be P tags, they might be H tags, it might be something like that, and you just want to be able to differentiate. So this has the font one way, the next one has the font the other way, this has the font one way, this has the font the other way. This is a way that you can do that again. So it's very, very easy to see as somebody is scrolling through the HTML document as they go through different sections. So this is showing with an H2 tag, using this nth of type with an H2 tag. Again, you can do it with an H2 tag, a P tag, an H1 tag, whatever else. Here we're using nth with full divs. So basically, again, this is where you can think about this is imagine these are entire blog posts or entire articles, something like that. So you have the first div here that has a light gray background, then you go to the next div that has a white background, the next div has a light gray background, so on and so forth. So I put some H1 data here and I put some P here. So again, this P here, I only put this fragment of a sentence, but again, this could be an entire blog post. So again, as somebody is scrolling through, it makes it very easy to differentiate between the different posts. And then finally at the end here, this is an nth example using a list. So I have a basic ordered list here. First item in the list, again, you can see it's blue across, then it's pink, then it's blue, then it's pink, then it's blue, then it's pink. And again, this gives you a visual representation so that it's very easy to see the difference between the different items here. And that's really what this nth of type is going to do for you. Let's go over and basically take a look at the HTML for this. Again, there is nothing complicated with the HTML for this. We open up with the HTML tag, we open up with the head tag. What we're going to do here is we're going to connect to the nth-style.css. So this is our style sheet. Again, you either put the name of the style sheet in there if it is in the same folder as the HTML document, or you put the full file path if it's in a different folder. We close the head and then we open the body. From here, we have H1. So this is going to basically give us a title for each of these examples. And I have given this a class of title. So we're taking a look here, this class of title. See how for the H1, basically this has that nice little border around it, basically to try to differentiate. It's like, oh, okay, this is a title, this is a title, this is a title. That's all we're doing here. So the H1, this is a basic example. Then I have a whole bunch of different H2 tags here. So H2, stuff that's in an H2 tag. H2, stuff that's in an H2 tag, right? So again, this is just an example, basically dump information in. Then we're going to go down H1. Again, this is still going to be that class of title. This is an nth example using the div tags. And then all I've done here is basically I've copy and pasted numerous examples with a div tag. So we do the div class is going to equal nth class. And then I basically just copy and pasted that a number of different times. Then we're going to go down. Again, we're going to get that title again, H1 class of title. This is an nth example using a list. And so again, with this, we open up with the OL, the ordered list tag. We have item 1 all the way down to item 6. We close the ordered list. We close the body. We close the HTML. So you will see here, there's nothing really complicated with this. Again, we're using for the H1, we're using a title class. For the divs, we're using the nth class, and so on and so forth. And then with the other ones, we're basically just based off of the tags themselves. I'll show you that in a second. So let's go over and actually take a look at the nth style CSS. So this is the actual style sheet, so you can see how this is all coded. So the first thing, right? So as I said, for these H1 titles here, you should know how this works. I talked about this in a previous class. So we have dot title, and basically we're going to have a border. It is going to be 2 pixels. It's going to be solid, and it's going to be black. Basically, that then gives us these title classes right here, right? So 2 pixels, solid black. Then we're going to go down and we're going to get to the H2 nth of type. So basically what we're going to say here is that the H2 tag, if we're going to have an H2 tag, we're going to do colon, we're going to do nth of type, and then we're going to say for each even one. So you can do even or odd here. So we're going to say for each even one. So each repetition that's even. So the second one, the fourth one, the sixth one, the eighth one, the 10th one, the 20th one, the 48th one. We want the background of that to be yellow. We want the font style to be italicized, right? And so that's what we get here. So the second one, is yellow and is italicized. The fourth one is yellow, it's italicized. The sixth one is yellow and is italicized. Just to show you how this works, so that is currently even, and you see how it is. I can put this to odd, I can put file, I can put save, and now we can see the odd ones are now going to be formatted that way. So the first one, the third one, the fifth one, and the seventh one are now formatted that way. So basically the even iteration when that tag pops up, or the odd iteration when that tag pops up, that's what you can do here. So let's just plug this back to even. Again, all we do is we do file, we do save, and now we can see that the even iterations of when the h2 tags show up, that's what you get. Then we're going to go down, we're going to take a look at the div. So basically with the div, same type of thing. So if we have a div tag, then we're going to do colon, and then we're going to say nth-of-type. And then what we're going to say is the second, basically the second iteration, every second one, we want it to be formatted in this way, so a background of a light gray, and we want to start with the first iteration, the first time this happens. So if we take a look here, we can see what we have here. So this +1, see how you have this +1? The +1 means it will start on the first. So the first one is light gray, and then past that, it will be every second. So the first one's light gray, then it goes to white. Then this one's light gray, then it goes to white. Then this one's light gray, then it goes to white. So one of the things we can do here is we can say, let's say every third, right? So every third iteration, we do file, we do save. So we see how it is now. If I go over and I do a refresh, now we can see that every third iteration. So since it's +1, since it says start on the +1, the first one, then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and then it'll be the next third one, right? If we go here and we say 4, again, especially if we had a lot of these divs, we can do 4, and then we can see for the +1, it starts here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. If we don't have the +1, so we go back and we say like 2, and we simply get rid of this, then it will simply happen on that iteration, right? So we go here, we hit refresh, and so we see on the second one. So if it's just 2n, it's basically saying on the second iteration, so this will be white, then this will be gray. Then the second, 1, 2, 1, 2. If we do +1, it says start the formatting on the first iteration. And now if we hit refresh, it now starts on the first iteration. So up here, this is how you can do even or odd. Down here, this is where you can say on however many iterations. So again, like if you had lots and lots and lots of divs, let's say you had, oh, I don't know, you had 50. You had 50 divs for some reason. You could say on the, on the second iteration, or every 2 do this, on every X do this, on every X, right? And you could format it in many different ways. Then we're going to go down here and we're simply going to take a look at the list using the whole even odd system like we did before. For this, we're going to say list li. So whenever we see the li tag, the first thing that we're going to say is nth-of-type odd. So we're going to say whenever it's an odd of an li, we want the background color to be light blue. Then we're going to go down for the li, and we're going to say nth-of-type even. So whenever it's even, we want the background to be pink. So that's when we come over here and we take a look at this, we can see that when it's odd, it's light blue, and when it's even, it's pink. Item 1, odd, blue. Item 2, even, pink. Item 3, odd, blue. Item 4, even, pink. Item, right, so on and so forth. And so this is where you can actually combine nth-of-type formatting. So to do something, in order to create a little bit more complicated formatting with your CSS. So this is basically how it works. Again, but what you're going to do here is you're going to have the tag, or you're going to have the class. So if this was a class, you could do dot whatever. Then you're going to do colon. This is all, with this, white space matters. To be clear with this, white space matters. So this is all crunched together. So you either put the class or the tag here, then immediately following you put a colon, then immediately following you put nth-of-type, then immediately following you open the parentheses, then you say even, then you say odd, or you do like 2n, you say however many numbers, however many iterations you want to see this happen. Then you open up the squirrely brackets like you normally do. Then you put in the CSS formatting like you normally do. And then you close the squirrely brackets like you normally do. And if you did not fat finger anything and you know what you're doing, then you get some fancy, cool, sexy formatting like this. So nth-of-type is a very easy way to make your HTML reports a hell of a lot more easier to read. And so this is basically how it works. So there you go. Now you know how to use nth-of-type. This is a very useful tool in the CSS world, especially again when you're going to be creating reports from again things like IoT devices and all that type of stuff. One of the most important things is, are your visitors actually going to be able to understand the information that they're presented with? You can print out a whole bunch of information on a screen. But if the person on the other side doesn't know what they're looking at, then it's worthless. That's one of the reasons that CSS is so valuable. Like CSS is one of those perfect examples that I see in the real world of technology professionals, where a lot of technology professionals, they look at something like CSS and they're like, yeah, it's formatting. I don't really care about that. PHP, Python, JavaScript. These are the real languages. That's what I'm going to focus on. And then they create applications. They create reports that, to be clear, technically, they do everything that they're supposed to do. But they're miserable for the end users to try to actually use because, again, if you're not the person that actually designed the application or the report, it may be very difficult to understand what is going on and be able to interpret what you're seeing. So by doing things like this whole using nth-of-type, again, being able to section off or being able to format different sections based off of these very simple rules, that's a way to make it a lot easier for people to scroll through very large HTML documents. Again, think about an HTML document that might be the equivalent of 100 or 20 printed pages, and somebody's trying to scroll through and find a specific section. If that entire document is basically formatted with white text, with a white background, and maybe all there is every once in a while there's a little title with chapter 2 section 1 or something like that, that is going to be very difficult for your end users to navigate through. On the other hand, if every section, again, just even sections have a white background, odd sections have a gray background, it's a lot easier as people are scrolling through and they're like, okay, 1 section, 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections, 5 sections, oh, 6 sections, I need the 6th section, there we go. Or even if it's a lot longer, 20 sections, it's still a lot easier to scroll through and be like, okay, yeah, I feel like I've scrolled by about 20 sections so far. Let me see where I'm at, right? Or again, looking at things like tables, you can use these rules on tables for the TR tag, for the table row tag. And again, when people are looking at especially large tables, it makes it a lot easier. It's like, oh, okay, so that's the date. And okay, I can just, since it's all in one color, I can then just follow that date across and see all the readings I'm getting from all of these different sensors. Think about how easy it is for a user to actually be able to use that report versus a basic HTML4 table, all white, basic line borders, this massive table, and they're like, okay, that day, and okay, it's just, it's a pain. So using these nth-of-type rules can make it a lot easier for your end users to be able to see what's going on. This is the type of thing where I've shown you how to do it. Again, from a technical standpoint, this is very easy to do. Where you get paid the big bucks, though, is actually learning how to use nth-of-type in a way that's actually useful to the end users. You will notice with the example that I gave you, it is ugly as hell. A lot of times, the demonstrations that I give you, I make them ugly as hell. I make them very garish, just so you get the point, right? Sometimes if you do formatting that's really subtle, it actually goes over people's heads because it's so subtle and so obvious, they miss what I'm trying to teach them. One of the things that I try to do is with these demonstrations, I try to make garish, many times very ugly examples. The reason is because it becomes very obvious what I've done. I mean, light blue and pink together. Oh, okay, that's what that code does. But one of the things that you're going to need to think about doing is, again, when you're dealing with the end users, you don't want to make garish. Again, my job is to make garish and ugly so that you understand what's going on. Your job is to make interfaces that users actually want to use. So one of the things that you should do with nth-of-type is go and start playing with it. Play with the different colors, play with the different designs, play with it, see what actually creates a nice, inviting environment for your users versus the ugly mess that I showed you. So again, this is one of those very, very simple to explain technically how to do it. The complication is actually then turning this into something useful at the end of the day. So as always, I enjoyed doing this class and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. If you like the content that I create, please think about going to elithecomputerguy.com and becoming a member or donating. Please understand that all of the educational videos are in front of the paywall. That includes the videos, that includes the notes, the diagrams, and the code example. All of that is freely available and in front of the paywall. But if you want to watch opinion videos or if you want to be able to comment, you do need to become a member. Membership is $5 a month or $60 a year and gives you access to those opinion videos and the ability to comment. If you don't want to become a member, you just want to give a one-time donation, there's also a donate button where you can do that. Please understand, in order to provide the education that I am, it does cost money. Servers cost money, equipment costs money, travel costs money. All of these things cost a reasonable amount of money, and the fact of the matter is YouTube's advertising program no longer supports creators the way that it used to. So if you want these classes to continue to stick around and you find them to be valuable, please think about either becoming a monthly member or donating a few dollars for this project.